The sun hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the quiet suburban street. It was a picturesque neighborhood where picket fences lined perfectly manicured lawns and the scent of freshly mowed grass wafted through the air. But on this particular evening, tranquility would give way to terror. John, a fresh-faced young man, had just landed his first job as a mailman. It was his inaugural day, and he was eager to prove himself. Dressed in his crisp blue uniform, he stepped out of the post office, clutching a stack of letters and packages. The late afternoon sun warmed his skin, and he took a deep breath, savoring the sense of purpose. As John made his way through the neighborhood, he couldn't help but smile and exchange pleasantries with friendly neighbors who were well acquainted with their regular mailman. Everyone seemed warm and welcoming, and John's anxiety about his new job began to melt away. However, the tranquil atmosphere would not last. As John approached the final house on his route, he noticed something odd. The house was an old, Victorian-style mansion, its once grand facade now showing signs of decay. Its windows were cracked, and the paint on the wooden shutters was peeling. An area feeling washed over him, but he shrugged it off, attributing his unease to first-day jitters. John ascended the creaking steps of the porch and reached for the mailbox. Just as he was about to deposit the mail, a bone-chilling growl echoed from the shadows. He turned to see a pair of crimson eyes glaring at him from the darkness. Fear surged through John's veins as he stumbled back, dropping the letters. The growl grew louder, and the shape in the shadows started to materialize. It was a massive, hulking dog, but this was no ordinary canine. Its fur was matted and dirty, and it seemed to emit an otherworldly aura. John's heart raced as he realized he was facing something supernatural. Without warning, the ghostly dog lunged at him, its teeth bared and jaws snapping shut inches from John's face. He screamed and scrambled down the porch steps, tripping over his own feet in his desperate attempt to escape. The dog pursued him relentlessly, its growls reverberating through the night. John sprinted down the street, the haunting presence of the ghostly dog hot on his heels. Panic coursed through his veins as he realized he couldn't outrun this supernatural menace. With each step, the dog seemed to draw closer, its ghostly form flickering like a shadow. Desperate for safety, John veered into a nearby park, hoping that the open space might offer some respite. He darted behind a thick cluster of trees, his breath ragged. He could hear the dog's heavy panting and the eerie sound of its claws scratching against the pavement. As John cowered behind the trees, he noticed an old man sitting on a nearby bench, seemingly unperturbed by the unfolding horror. The man's eyes were locked on John, and he beckoned him closer with a gnarled hand. With no other options, John cautiously approached. "Who are you?" John stammered, his voice trembling. The old man's voice was gravelly, as if he had been speaking in whispers for centuries. "I am the guardian of this park," he rasped. "And that," he pointed to the ghostly dog, "is my eternal companion, Shadow." John's eyes widened in terror. "Please, you have to help me. That dog is after me." The old man nodded slowly. "Shadow is relentless. He chases those who are marked by fate, those who must confront their deepest fears. But I can offer you a way out?" Desperation overtook John, and he begged, "Tell me, please." The old man reached into his tattered coat and produced a small, ancient-looking amulet. It was adorned with a strange symbol, and it glowed with an ethereal light. "Take this," he said, pressing it into John's trembling hand. "It will protect you, but it will also draw the dog's attention. Use it wisely." John clutched the amulet tightly, his fingers trembling. With a nod of gratitude, he sprinted away from the old man and back into the park, the ghostly dog hot on his trail. He couldn't outrun it, but he had the amulet, and he hoped it would save him. With the amulet in hand, John led the dog on a frantic chase through the park, dodging behind trees and benches. Each time the dog drew near, John brandished the amulet, and the dog would howl in agony, retreating momentarily. It was a nerve-wracking game of cat and mouse, and John could feel the amulet's power waning with each use. Finally, with the amulet's glow fading, John reached the edge of the park. He had one last chance. He turned to face the ghostly dog, holding the amulet high and chanting words he didn't understand. The amulet erupted in blinding light, engulfing the dog in an ethereal fire. The dog let out a bone-chilling howl, its form dissipating into mist until it vanished completely. John collapsed to the ground, breathless and trembling, but he was safe. The old man appeared beside him, his expression unreadable. "You have passed the test, young one," he said, his voice softer now. "Shadow is no longer a threat to you." As John caught his breath, he couldn't help but ask, "Why? Why did this happen to me on my first day?" The old man's eyes seemed to pierce through the veil of reality. "Sometimes the supernatural world crosses paths with ours. You were chosen to face your fears, to prove your courage. Remember, the line between the mundane and the mysterious is thinner than you think." With those enigmatic words, the old man faded away, leaving John alone in the now peaceful park. He clutched the amulet in his hand, a symbol of his harrowing encounter with the ghostly dog. From that day forward, John continued his job as a mailman, but he knew that the ordinary world held secrets beyond imagination. He had confronted a terrifying, ghostly canine on his first day, and he carried the knowledge of the supernatural with him, a constant reminder that the shadows could hold unimaginable terrors.